And this is, of course, phase one that is now in full swing. Last time we visited, we were just starting, so we were draining the river or lowering, and you see it's still flowing through kind of the same. And since that point, though, we've made a lot of progress in advancement. This particular portion is phase one, which runs from City Park basically to Irving. And you'll see as we go through a lot of the trail enhancements that have happened. A lot of our rocks are in place as far as our borders along the river. You'll see a lot of our bank stabilization. Some of the areas, like this particular area that we're standing on, was already stabilized, so it wasn't an area we had to address. Across the river by the river stage was also an area that had been stabilized with riprap, so we didn't have to do any bank stabilization there. As the water comes back up in this area, of course, it'll cover the riprap and you won't see any of that, but it'll hold the bank in place really well for us. Just down the river a little from us is an area where there was no stabilization, and so you'll see new riprap that was actually installed by our city crews. A lot of those things were put in to help hold our costs down as we're moving through. You'll see some of the project will have city crews that work to put in the riprap to hold costs down. You'll see areas where the inmates will be used to assist with the project to also help reduce cost. Then along this same bank, you'll see areas where there are rocks that line the river that are large native stone that is placed along the river to make a nice cap, but then also to help stabilize the bank. You know, the project has a lot of great elements that are visual from an aesthetic standpoint, but one of the key components that really had to be focused on was the bank stabilization, and that's one of those topics that's been discussed in San Angelo as long as I've been working for the city, because while the river is not a constant flowing river, it has a lot of wave action on it from the wind, which erodes the bank, and of course we have those wonderful nutria that get in the river and also burrow under, and then that causes the bank to erode. You'll see a lot of trees along the river. San Angelo's got a lot of wonderful pecan trees that line the river as well as others, and you've seen a lot of those over the years that have started to fall over and fall in, and so we end up losing those because the bank erodes along. And so it's just critical to stabilize that bank to stop the erosion. One, that helps with us not having as much dredge material in the river that we have to deal with later because we're stopping that erosion before it gets in, but then it just stabilizes so we don't lose sidewalks and trees and all types of things, enhancements along the river. As you go along on the river trail here, there's going to be a lot of really neat things that you'll see. You'll see the stone or the stone retainers that go along the trail itself, which are designed to allow for seating, and if I'm a kid, I just want to get up and walk on that. That's just fun. There's also new water features. There's some of our existing features that have been redone. Before, you may have noticed the features had stones that kind of kept you away. They were sharper, they were defined, you really couldn't get up close or near the water feature. The new features are the large flat stone that allow you to walk around the water and actually get up by it. So they're going to be pretty neat. The other thing that'll be a real drastic change on the water features is that before you usually saw a little bit of trickling water coming down. In this particular project, you'll see going across the river our new pumping station. And the pumping station is designed, before we had a lot of pumps throughout the river. So they were small pumps that served individual ponds or water fountains. In this case, we're going to have one large pumping station, and that pumping station will serve all of the fountains. And it has a pretty extensive filtration system on them, so we're hoping that the water in the fountains will be cleaner, but also you won't have as much buildup of residue and so forth as the water goes through. It's still going to be river water. It's not going to be potable water, but it's going to have a little bit of a filtering system as well. But the amount of water that it will force through those fountains is going to be greatly increased. So before, where you saw a small trickle on these fountains, you're going to see much more rapid flowing water through them, which not only visually is great and the sound is great, but it also helps with the aeration of the river itself. Another item on the water features is that the council has held a reserve in the project to try and do a pretty exciting feature down in this downtown part, right here by the old Neffs area and the river stage. And they're in the process now of looking at some companies that can provide some water features that would actually be out in the water itself. Those are geared to be a destination where it would draw families and people to come to see the water features that may go off. Currently the project has LED lighting on all of our bridges, so those water features might also have LED lighting that have sort of shows that go with them. That's still in the development process. The plans are not final, we're just starting that, but it's geared at really sort of blending in with the whole environment that we're trying to create down here. As we move along, some of the other areas along the river that you see that are still vacant land, the council has looked at trying to develop private partnerships, public-private partnerships for development of those land, and also work with a master developer to bring some more activity down on the river. Well, we've really had several phases in the whole river project because we've done everything from one of our original projects, which you see across the river by the river stage, where we finished the Terrace Plaza. We also purchased land as well farther down the river to do some connection. And then, of course, we moved into the dredging, which you saw 2 Christmases ago. That project completed, and now you'll see where the dredging material was placed has been all covered up with dirt, also seeded in that area, so you really can't tell that dredge material was even deposited there. And then we go into this phase, which is the first phase of the actual construction projects on the river, and we're fixing to move into the second phase of this particular river project, which will be from Irving on toward Chadbourn, or to Sulphur Draw specifically. The time frame of the project is basically an 18-month scope for both phases of the trail and the bank stabilizations. We started in October, so we should be finishing up this first section of the downtown area sometime this spring to early summer. But as we talked about earlier, they're already fixing to start. They're starting to lower the water in the second section, which a lot of that water then as it lowers, they'll allow it to fill part of the downtown area back up. And then the second phase should be complete within that 18-month time frame. The project, of course, has been worked on very closely with city staff and city council, but we've also had a really great working relationship with the architects who designed the project, which is Kenny Frankie Architects. They've done great, gone above and beyond to try and make this place something that is not only special but unique to San Angelo. We also had a really good working relationship thus far with all of our contractors, Templeton being our construction manager at risk, and Reese Albert is doing a lot of our work here as far as the rock work, and they've all been great to work with. So we've had a very good crew focusing on getting this project done. Really, this area will remain, kind of closed off to the public for, travel through for a little while, but it's progressed very quickly so far as the rock work and the retaining. So really in this first section, you're going to see a lot of the final details start to go in. Right now, you don't see any of the lighting in place. You don't see all of those finishing touches that have to be done. There's a games court area up in the top that has to be completed. And there's other things, like along the Chadbourn Bridge, you'll see murals that'll face one of the bridge support structures as well. So a lot of that specific detail is what's going to start happening in the next few months. Before, we've been down, with our basic sort of infrastructure work, which is from bank stabilization to rock work, but you're going to see a lot of that detail work now start coming into place.